which urban legend turned out to be true. When I was about 12 years old, a friend and I were playing in the woods that were known for being creepy. While building a fort, a strange man snuck up behind us and he yelled at us to get off his land and never come back, yada yada. It really startled us as we knew the land was a public area and had never been threatened by an adult before. Several years later we found out he was an actual bank robber, wanted by the FBI for years. We were building our fort a few feet from his stash. Here's the news article about it. Wiki page Carl Gugasian. There was an urban legend in the UK about a guy called Purple Aki. The rumor was he was a giant bodybuilder who roams around Liverpool asking young men if he can squeeze their muscles and then asks if he can squat them. I heard it as a London teen years ago and thought it was a hilariously bizarre urban legend from those crazy kids in Liverpool. Then it came out a teenager died after running away from him and accidentally getting hit by a train while trying to get away, and suddenly the real Purple Aki was all over the news. The university I attended in TX had an urban legend about a student that got lost and died under the maintenance tunnels under the campus. I'd always thought it was rumor because many ghost stories were tied to it. Until my senior year when I got a part-time job at the university. Turns out there was an extensive tunnel network under the school that fed steam to the buildings for heat. Anyone who goes into the tunnels is required to have someone with them to prevent another death. Human finger and hamburger. It happened for real some 2 years ago in a fast food franchise called Hot in Santa Cruz, Bolivia. The meat grinder operator inserted his fingers in the grinders and lost 2 of them. He was rushed to emergency care and the next shift arrived and carried on, not having been told about the accident, so one of the fingers made it all the way to a customer's mouth. I didn't believe it at first until the restaurant owners made their public apology. There are a few that came true. One that comes to mind is the legend of the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland. For years, people claimed that there was a mysterious creature living in the loch, but it was never proven until recent years. Scientists are now studying the DNA of the water in the loch, and they have found strong evidence of a large unknown creature living in the waters. In Pennsylvania, there was a local legend in a town about a green man who could be seen walking the roads at night. It turned out to be a severely disfigured man who'd walk at night to avoid scaring people. I always felt so bad for the guy. Here's the story. 28 Green Man 29? Props Flow 1. Howard Hughes is the archetypal super-rich hermit. One of the world's richest men. In his later years he locked himself in a hotel penthouse, never trimmed his nails and kept his urine in jars. All of these peculiarities were all rumored, but he had a well-paid PR team whose self-interest was to deny these rumors. Mostly all true. There was a haunted house in West Hobart, Tasmania, Australia that was slowly sent everyone living there crazy over a period. It turned out there was an overgrown water tank in the yard with a hidden datura plant growing above it that would drop flowers onto the tank. The people living there were microdosing and deliriant. Fisher. A legend that has been told by children in summer camps for 90s. There was a legend that Fisher brutally murdered pioneers. In 1996, Sergei Golovkin, nicknamed Fisher, was shot for 11 murders with particular cruelty. The boys turned gray before death and 1 attempted murder. Wasn't there a case a few years ago, where a young woman went missing from a hotel? Weeks later, and several guests complain about the taste of the hotel water, so hotel staff checks the hotel cistern and finds the dead body decomposed in the hotel's water supply. The story about the couple renting a hotel room that stinks and eventually they find a dead body stuffed between the bed mattress and bed frame. Yeah, that one actually happened. I think it was in the 60s? I can't remember the exact date. I live in Lima, Peru, and I heard people talk about a clown that pops up at around 3 a.m. at an intersection. Sure enough, some nights at 3 a.m. there's a clown at the intersection that juggles balls and gives you balloons. Don't ask. Nixon flooded black neighborhoods with crack. Was a conspiracy theory, then an urban legend, then actually confirmed? Edited was Reagan. Nixon's thing was over-policing ethnic neighborhoods. Kevin Spacey being a handsy creep with a penchant for younger men was gossiped about like crazy in the circles I was around in 1998, turned out to be true enough based on what we know now. Kinda backwards, I guess, in that a real incident inspired a much broader urban legend, but the Bunny Man in Virginia started with actual incidents. That hatred and bigotry are real and in our neighborhoods displayed primarily in the form of evangelicals trying to sell cray-cray. The Catholic Church knew about the sexual abuses of tens of thousands of children and covered it up. There really was a serial killer when Corona active in my hometown when I was in high school. The North Pond Hermit. What agro legend actually turned out to be true? Same number. Turns out they were stiff as a board and lighter than a feather. Turn out all the one about the UFOs might actually to true. Turns out my house actually is built over a plantation. Sewer gators are a real thing, especially in Florida. Dingo ate my baby. A dingo really did. Poor woman.